Hello, let's start the tutorial by installing the add-on. After downloading the add-on, go to Preferences, select the Add-ons tab, select the Install from Disk option, and look for the zip file. The first tool we'll cover is the Curve Trim. With this tool, you can make curved or linear cuts quickly and accurately regardless of the mode you are in. It works in Object mode, Edit mode, and Sculpt mode. You can turn the Polygroups option on and off. With the option on, each cut in the mesh creates a group of materials that can be easily selected. If you are going to use the tool in Sculpt mode, it is recommended that you turn off the Polygroups option, since in Sculpt mode the face set attribute is always added. If you do not turn it off, there will be no problem. However, materials and face sets will be added. When using the tool, all shortcuts will be visible in the bottom corner of Blender. You can hold Ctrl to restrict the angle to 5 degrees. By holding space, you can move the entire drawing to adjust its position. The left mouse button draws curves, Shift creates straight lines. You can cancel by pressing Escape or using the right mouse button. Finally, to confirm, press Enter or double-click the left mouse button. When drawing very sharp curves using Shift, sometimes a gap may appear in the mesh. If this happens, you can change the solver to exact. This will solve the problem, but the exact solver is a bit slow. We can also modify the trim mode. The difference mode is the current mode, and it cuts the mesh. The union mode creates a new mesh and joins it to the current mesh. And finally, we have the intersect mode, which cuts everything outside the drawing. Now let's cover the other cutting tool, the Curve Trim ZBR. This tool is almost identical to the first, but focused solely on cutting the mesh. Note that with this tool, we don't need to adjust and close the entire drawing to cut the entire mesh. We simply cross the mesh to perform the cut. Use the red gradient as a cutting guide. If you press F, the cut area will be inverted. The Slice Curve tool is similar to Blender's Knife tool. However, it's much easier to slice the entire mesh. You can quickly and easily create curves in the mesh. Furthermore, it can be used in Sculpt mode to slice and generate new face sets. Note that when performing the operation with the Simplify Geometry option turned on, the generated mesh adapts to the pre-existing geometry. If you want the cut to perfectly follow the drawing on the screen, turn this option off. Let's go to the Zeed Tools panel and explore the Group by Faces tab. Here we can create different groups of materials based on the angular tolerance. Using the last operation menu, you can modify the value of this angular tolerance in real time. This way you can control the formation of these groups. I created a tool to quickly select these groups of materials. You can go to the preferences and change its shortcut at any time. The default shortcut for the tool is Shift, Ctrl, Alt plus the left mouse button. This way it will be easy to select these groups of materials and edit them quickly and accurately. We can choose between modes the way the group of materials will be generated. For example, selected edge mode, where we isolate the area with the selected edges to generate a group. We can also use creases, sharp edges, or seams to isolate the area and create groups. Another way to quickly create groups is to right-click to open the context menu, select the ZT menu, and then use the group selected face. This allows you to create custom groups more quickly. The Split Polygroups option separates material groups from the active object. Delete polygroup options deletes the material groups from the active object only, and delete all polygroups deletes the group from all objects in the scene. We can switch between generating material groups or face sets. Face set generation is only available in sculpt mode. Automatic mode always generates face sets when we're in sculpt mode, and always generates material groups when we're not in sculpt mode. If you're in sculpt mode, some extra options related to face sets will be available. In this case, we have split face sets and delete face sets. The Panel Loops menu is one of my favorite tools. It allows you to quickly create panels using the borders of material groups or face sets as a reference. To demonstrate, I'll create some material groups using the Slice Curve tool. Clicking the Create Panels button will generate a preview of the panels. You can cancel at any time, but to actually apply them, you need to click the Apply Panels button. With the thickness parameter, we can obviously control the thickness of the mesh, and the offset parameter controls the direction of the mesh extrusion. A value of 1 represents an outward extrusion, 0 makes the shape extrude in both directions, and a value of -1 represents an inward extrusion. The spacing parameter controls the spacing between panels. In the bevel section, the amount parameter will control the bevel propagation distance. This parameter is quite sensitive. Be careful not to increase it too much. You can hold Shift to modify it in a sensitive way. We can add multiple segments to the bevel and use the shape parameter to control the curvature of these segments. If you increase the bevel distance too much on a dense mesh, it may cause issues such as artifacts or distortions. The best way to prevent this is to relax the mesh before applying the panels. One native way to do this in Blender is by switching to Sculpt mode, selecting the Mesh Filter tool and choosing the Relax Face Sets filter. Gently click and drag on the mesh until the artifacts are reduced or disappear. Once the mesh is relaxed, you can proceed with panel application. In the Creases menu panel, we can quickly add or remove creases through the angular tolerance. Through this slider, we can also control the global value of the creases. If we lower the value to 0, all creases will be removed. You can add creases and control their value from any Blender mode. It is also possible to add creases to the edges of each material group or face sets. To clear creases only from material groups, use the Uncrease PG button. If you want to remove all creases from the active object, use Uncrease All. If you go to Sculpt mode, it will be possible to add and remove creases in the face sets.